Circulation, that is keeping fluid moving, is extremely important for our health. So let's talk about how to keep the lymph moving. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness. And to start off, we're going to talk about the central system, and then we'll move into the periphery, because the lymph system works much better if we pump the center first, and then we'll move out from there. We don't want to be pushing fluid from the periphery into the middle if the middle isn't pumping properly. So that's where we start. We go from the middle outward, and I'm going to show you the primary mechanism for pumping the core lymph is diaphragmatic breathing. We've got to pump down, push down with our diaphragm, and what happens is the diaphragm then presses against the cisterna chyli, this central bulb that actually pumps, because the diaphragm pushes and massages, and it pumps this fluid up up and down the thoracic shaft. So we need to get this central system pumping first, and that is with breath. So all of the lymph pumps with skeletal muscle contraction. In other words, we have to have muscle contraction in order to pump our lymph properly. The heart does not, the pumping of the heart does not move the lymph. Okay, it needs the contraction of muscles. So the primary muscle for the core system is the diaphragm. As the diaphragm pushes down, and it pumps that. So let's look at how to do that. But recognize that sitting is probably the worst thing we can do for our lymphatic system, because it closes off some of the main points right here. So all the legs drain through the hips right down in here, and then the arms drain through here. All this drains through the axillary and then across the collarbones. And of course we sit like this at the desk. Okay, so really sitting is probably the worst thing we can do. But I'm backing up here so I can show you as I sit. First of all, you can see I'm definitely cut off down here, but I want to show you the diaphragm. Okay, so the diaphragm is this dome-shaped muscle here, and as it contracts, you can see the length of the diaphragm is basically this, and as it contracts, it flattens. Okay, so that contraction, which is to say the fibers slide together, contract and flatten out. Well, that flattening is essentially pushing down into the abdominal cavity, and of course for breath that means it creates a vacuum. In other words, more volume up here than it is down here and than it was before. So here it is, low volume, high volume. High volume means going to pull air in, it's a vacuum. So there's our breathing mechanism for the diaphragm. But the diaphragm doesn't just do breathing. It actually does, as this pumps down, it pumps against this core, lymphatic cord. Now this is all deep, okay? It's right in the center of the body. The spine, which is probably about here, okay, the center of the spine, and in front of the spine is this central tube. And so it's deep, okay? So we have to think of it, when we think about this, we need to get really deep into the center of the body. So right, as I breathe in with my diaphragm and my diaphragm contracts down, I'm pumping, but I want to kind of think of it as the back part of the diaphragm, right, where I'm going to pump down into that cisterna chyli. It's the name of that little sac or part of that thoracic duct system. Okay, so I'm going to breathe in and pump. Exhale, breathe in and pump. Okay, so I'm using that central pump, and that's the lymph pump that we're using, okay, in the core. Now I can increase this with breath, right? So I'm going to breathe in, but with my consciousness, I'm going to run down the spine, on the front side of the spine. Okay, and then if I just come front of that, there's a tube, that central thoracic tube. And there I am, right at that pump, right in the bottom of as the diaphragm finishes its contraction. Now you really need to get good at this, because we're going to be doing this to help massage the digestive system when we get to that next month. Okay, so this ability for the diaphragm to contract down. Now, many people, when they breathe by lifting up the chest, and this doesn't move at all. So if I breathe just with my chest, it looks like this, right? I'm lifting up, and the diaphragm, I'm not even moving, okay? So I really want to get that diaphragm contracting, and I should feel that push pressure down into the abdomen. It's going to be a lot easier to do this lying down. If you cannot connect with this, if you can't feel this, then I highly recommend that you lie down, take the pressure off. Go back to our self-massage for the shoulders and the neck and opening up, because this is why we did all that at the beginning. So if you're just starting with us, then I highly recommend going back to week 1. Go to the YouTube video channel, the Minke Wellness, M-I-N-K-E Wellness, and go to the channel on YouTube, and you'll see playlists. If you go back to week 1, the videos are listed in order on the playlist. So go through the first month, and that's where we really talk about increasing breath volume and getting in touch with the diaphragm and allowing us to do it. So this breathing, carries us all the way through if we have the good breathing. So again, if we're lying down and we take it out of gravity, you're going to have a lot easier time feeling this movement of the diaphragm down into the abdomen, because I don't have gravity then creating this. Also, you might loosen your belt, okay, so that you got a little bit more room down in here. Now tomorrow, there's going to keep this one short. Let me say this. We can begin this process. So once we have this core diaphragm contraction pumping that lymph, then we can go to feeling. So again, the skeletal muscle contraction is what pumps the lymph. So we can kind of get a sense of, well, first of all, gravity is going to help us. In this case, we're sitting down. Gravity is going to help us if I lifted my arm up and then contracted my shoulder and my serratus system, contracted my arm and my bicep and then my forearm. I'm contracting, and that's pushing with the idea that I'm pushing the fluid down here. To come in here, it is contract, right? So I'm going to, when I pump my body, so the legs become very important now. I'm fighting against gravity. So if I contract my hiney, but contract my butt muscles and then my hips, so I'm getting all this contracted, and the quads now contract up, and then the calves contract and push me up. So I can do this little contracting activity, and we're going to do this a lot more tomorrow, but this idea of pushing the ground away, right? So I'm pushing up, but I really want to feel the contraction of my muscles. So contract my quads, my knees, my calves, contract around those, and so I'm pushing. Now, but I have to let go. Just solid contraction, staying contracted, staying all tight isn't what we're going for. We're contract, relax, contract, relax, contract, relax. That's the pumping action that's going to happen at the deep lymphatics, okay? The deep lymphatics pump that way. The surface lymphatics, which is actually, I think most of the lymphatics is 70% of it is right at the skin. That is done with, the same kind of concept, but we're going to, if we're moving the lymph, it's going to require a very light touch, and it requires that we have the core part open and pumping, so these drainage points. So let's talk a little bit about drainage points, and we'll do a lymph massage, and basically like a dry brushing, and we'll go over that at a different video. But here, let's just get familiar again with the lymphatic system. We've got a main central shaft, but we have all the axillary, the armpit areas, the axillary lymph nodes, and the drainage points come across here at the collarbone. Same thing on both sides. In the lower, we've got lymph nodes all the way through the abdomen, all the way down along the spine, and then lymph nodes in the groin. But here's a main drainage point in the groin. So you can see this problem for our legs, the health of our leg tissues, is that we're sitting here all the time, maybe even 10, 12, 14 hours a day sitting, and we don't get that lymph to pump past this point here. So there's a mechanism of pumping. Actually, I should have worn my shorts, but there's a mechanism of being able to reach across. So here's my pocket. If I come down to a point where I'm just about to hit my thigh, and then I pull upward with a little bit of pumping. If I combine that with the idea of breathing or inviting, and I'm inviting this. So on both sides here is this drainage point across the hips. That fluid has to get up and through there. Okay, that's what drains. Now I can do this lying down a lot more effectively. So it might be a situation again where if you want to get this done more than once in a day, then sometime during the day to lie down, breathe lymphatically, feeling the pumping, do some of the pumping just manually here, and then here and here. And so this has got our 4 manual pumps, and then do the breath to pump, to pull with the breath. See, now I don't know because about you, but we've already did a little bit of connecting to the lymph with the breath, and now that I've stimulated these points physically, and as soon as I take a breath, I can really feel the fluid move. So it becomes a much, sort of stacked phenomena here. We breathe deeply, we get the mechanical pumping, but then we use our therapeutic breath to really encourage and pull the fluid, okay? So tomorrow I'm going to talk about exercise, physical movement, doing some movement and bouncing to help stimulate all the lymph here. But I wanted you to really start the lymph moving mechanically with the diaphragm pumping, the central core, and then we can do a little bit more pumping in these drainage points to get the core moving, okay? Then we're going to actually show some brushing techniques that would be very light touch and brushing to help the tissue drain, okay? So that's what's coming up. But keep drinking your water. Right now, I'm personally, we're in allergy season, so a lot of stuff going on. We need a lot more when the allergies are kicking in, and you got a lot of fluid coming through the lungs just to clear and clear and clear. Your tissues can get dehydrated. So make sure that you drink plenty of water during this time as we start to work with keeping the fluids flowing, and we got to keep the fluids coming in too. Okay? Happy wellness. We'll see you tomorrow.